So tonight I'm bringing in Keith Banner. He's from DODD, Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. That's another acronym that you're going to hear a lot as you're going through your meetings, your IEPs, ISPs, different ones. You'll hear DODD a lot. But Keith Banner is here with us from that, and he's going to be talking about navigating employment and work readiness, or job readiness. So Keith, I'm going to let you go ahead, and I have you set up to share your screen. So you can go ahead and take the screen.
All right, I'm doing
I
that
got to
right.
stop share. Hold on, I got to stop share. Forgot that part. A lot to think about sometimes.
I know, believe me, I know. So welcome everybody. It's beautiful and sunny outside, so I was thinking there's not going to be but 3 or 4 folks, but you surprised me. There's like 15, 16, 17. So like Patty said, I'm with DODD, and I'm going to start the slideshow. And I'm what it's called a community life engagement project manager from Southwest Ohio. It's a lot of words, but basically I help everybody involved in the DD system down here in Southwest Ohio kind of try to move toward more community-based supports, and that would include employment. And so tonight I'm going to talk a lot about employment, but I also talk about everything else that has to do with community living. So if you have questions around that, I'm always willing to field them or find answers for you. So, because I don't know everything, believe it or not. So tonight we're going to talk about navigating employment and work readiness. And basically we're going to talk through how you can help support your family member through an employment planning process that's specific to them, right? With an emphasis on discovering and communicating interests, connecting and interests to job possibilities, building skills, and tapping into community supports and strategies. I have a huge lineup, not a huge, probably about 12, 13, 14 resources I'm going to walk you through, but I'll give you an employment first kind of history before we do that. All of this is in service to kind of tapping into those supports and strategies with a focus on helping your transitioning student move into the workforce in the way they can and want to, with interest and skills and abilities kind of at the forefront. There's also a concept called conditions for success we'll talk through. And that's kind of what we're getting to when we're talking about discovering and communicating interest, is trying to communicate to whoever's helping your student kind of to look into what they want to do for a job. It's always trying to figure out the conditions for success. And that would include what they are interested in, not even vocationally, but just in life. And then how do we tap into that interest so it becomes like an ambition or a passion? And then also conditions at the workplace, as in if somebody doesn't like loud noises, or they don't like to be crowded, or so all of that in one place in some kind of document form that we can use to kind of navigate through the systems as we get the help we need. And that includes school, that includes opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities, that includes DD, the system for people with developmental disabilities. So tonight, the takeaways, like I said, hopefully will be all kinds of resources and ideas on how to best organize and communicate all that important info I was talking about, and to make the career discovery and job development process successful, no matter what age. Like when I was 13, 14, I wasn't thinking about the job of my life. I was thinking about maybe, can I get a part-time job, or can I kind of just start discovering what kind of work I want? So from that to as someone gets older and enters into, adulthood at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, it's a continuum, but it's also a trajectory that you're trying to figure out. And you want to make sure that you have a way to gather all that info as it happens, so that when you do have a meeting, like Patty was saying, whatever meeting it is, IEP or a meeting about work, you have that ready to go, and people who are going to be involved in helping the job seeker, they have a good stash of info that they can act on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about employment first. And basically, Employment First got launched by the former governor, John Kasich, in 2012, over 9 years ago. He signed the Employment First executive order then. And basically it was the, that community employment would be the first I'm gonna, sorry. A preferred option for all people with developmental disability. I couldn't read it and I wanted to make sure I got it right because the webinar, the Zoom kind of thing was in the way, sorry. So basically this Employment First executive order created a task force, and that task force is all the agencies that have anything to do with people with disabilities. One of their main focuses would be how to help people access community employment opportunities by reducing red tape and aligning state policies. And so all these agencies that are listed here are a part of the task force. The Ohio Department of Transportation just got added on this year, so that's not in the slide, but all these agencies meet monthly and they will talk through how to make sure that everything that they're doing in regards to employment and people with disabilities, that we're all speaking the same language and trying to figure out the same strategies to help people move into the workforce. Like you see, it includes the Ohio Department of Education, my place of employment, DODD, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, JDFS, Mental Health Services, and the Office of Medicaid Services. So Employment First, I think sometimes people, when they hear this, they think, what is that? Like if somebody has to get a job, it's the only thing they can do. And it's was never intended to be that. It's a basically, Employment First means it's the first option, right? So it's not employment only. So employment services becomes the first option for folks, regardless of the level of disability. There's a assumed competence in folks. So it's not really a program either. It's more a philosophy and a way to proceed. And so it's like no more asking, can you work or are you employable? It's instead, what are you good at and what are you interested in? It's no more asking, do you want to work? Instead, where do you want to work? What are the conditions for success that would help you be in a place of employment and you could flourish? So the way that we talk about employment and people with disabilities is shifting and began that shift. The Employment First executive order kind of began that shift to kind of think about work and think about people with disabilities at the same time and presume that we can make it happen. If we got the right supports in place and if we got everything the way it should be, we can make it happen. And so the Employment First administrative rule came out of the executive order that Governor Kasich signed too. And basically that's through the DD system. And the rule says that every person of working age that is DD eligible will be a part of a person-centered planning process to identify their place on the path to community employment. And all the services and supports provided to help that person move along the path to community employment will have a progress report attached to it so we can monitor for progress and folks can help people move forward. And again, another established way that we talk and communicate now around employment was the path to community employment. That basically this came out of that executive order as well, so that we can kind of start the conversation with a place so we know where to move, how to move forward. And so there are 4 places on the path to community employment. One is I have a job and I'd like a better one. 2 is I want a job, I need help to find one. 3 is I'm not so sure about work, I need help to learn more. And then 4 is I don't think I want to work, I may not know enough about it though. And so in planning teams, when your SSA, your case manager connects with an individual, they'll kind of walk through this path to community employment and help the person that's seeking the job to figure out, well, where am I at on this path and what do I need to move forward? And so this is just the beginning of a conversation. So that's my history lesson in less than 10 minutes. I was looking at my watch. So basically the rest of tonight is going to be about resources. And I've got a bunch that I've pulled together that kind of walk through this idea of discovery and navigating employment resources and figuring out how to communicate the way, what the person that you're supporting, your family member, how they, the conditions for success will help them move into the workforce. And the first tool that I always go to is Charting the Life course. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. It's a really simple planning process. It doesn't look simple in this circle, but I'm going to show you a couple of docs that are really simple that kind of help you plan and have a vision and inventory what resources are available and what you actually want to do with those resources in a pretty simple, common language. And this is the beginning for me of any kind of employment planning process with anybody. And it's called the Charting the Life course Integrated Support Star. And what this is a way for you to kind of inventory or look at all the resources available to the job seeker. And just it's a beginning of a conversation around what you already have and what's available and what might be needed. And this link, which I think I gave Patty a PDF version of this, so all the links are available. You can go directly to this PDF fillable document, right? You can download it on your laptop or whatever, and you can kind of, in the middle of the star, put your son, daughter's name there, and you can just kind of brainstorm with whoever wants to brainstorm with you around the resources available and the resources that might be needed. So, and the Charting the Life course planning process kind of segments supports into 5 different zones. One is eligibility specific, like what's available to somebody because they have a diagnosis, right? So that might be Medicaid, self-directed funds, SSI. So we have one form of support through eligibility-based support. Then you kind of look at what's in the community that's available that's not just connected to diagnosis, and that could be like what's listed here. And I'll show you some other stuff on down that might be community-based, like Ohio Means Jobs is a great community-based resource. What would anybody that's looking for a job, what's available to them in the community to look at? And that it would include all kinds of different community-based resources. Then up there in the left-hand corner, technology, like how can technology help Connor or help whoever get a job? And you'd list out the resources that technology might provide. And then in the middle there is strengths and assets. What are the skills or some of the things my family member has that will help them live their good life or get a good job, right? And so you would list all the great assets and strengths that your son or daughter or brother, sister, or family member have in that slot. And then you'd on the right side up at the top there, you'd have relationships. So what family members, what people do I know in the world, in the community, what that might help my son or daughter, brother, sister move into the workforce? Who we know that might be able to help us do that? And if you have this kind of a mindset as you move into the service system, you have more of a way to kind of communicate not just what's available through the eligibility-based and specific support system, but also you have a kind of a spectrum of support and a way to kind of look at things that may be a little bit saner than just depending on one type of support. This is called the Life Trajectory, which is another Charting the Life course doc. And basically, I use this and help folks use this to kind of think about what is my vision, and I'm going to go specifically to job, but this can be opened up to anything in a person's life, right? But you could do the trajectory for each person around just employment. So what is my vision of a good job, right? And you could list out the bullet points around what that means. And then what kind of job don't I want? What do I dislike, right? And we'd put that in that column. And then as you move over here to the left, you can kind of see how it helps push you forward, right? It helps you think about things that happened in the past that helped them get closer to this goal. Things I'd like my family member to work on to move toward the goal. Things that happened in the past that pushed away from this idea. Things that might keep my family member from getting their good life. And you list those out. And at the end of this process, you have like a pretty good, solid roadmap for the moves you can make and the way to communicate those moves to anybody in school, in DD world, or in Opportunities for Ohioans with Disability, OOD world, which is another acronym. But basically, I'm going to talk about it in a second. It's basically the state agency for employment resources and support for anybody with a disability. And we'll go into that a little bit more here in a sec. So that's those are the two main kind of resources I would pull out of Charting the Life course. And like I said, on those links, you can go right to them and you can download a fillable PDF, and you can just work through that, you know, on your laptop or whatever, and have this kind of completed and ready to go as a part of a portfolio of this idea of discovery, of this idea of how to communicate the conditions for success for your student to kind of flourish as they move into the workforce. On the not on the OOD, I'm sorry, on the Employment First website, there's a lot of resources here under the transition toolkit. And I'm going to try to take us there on this link and see if it'll do it. Can you still see my screen and everything? Excellent. Okay. Basically, here on the Employment First website, you can walk through this toolkit, and it's got all kinds of resources over here that kind of walk you through the transition process, multi-agency collaboration, which is what I'm talking about when I'm saying having a document about the person that's not connected to any system, because you want to be able to have a vision, and then you want to go to the service system and you want to start talking to them, because they're going to have plans that are specific to their services. But sometimes you need a plan outside of all that service speak, because you want to be able to kind of convey to the service folks, this is what we want to have happen, and how can we get there with your help, right? So you have that multi-agency collaboration. You have all kinds of information that you could spend a day on. I'm sorry if I'm weighing you down with a lot of information, just specific to transition here at the Employment First website. This is a great, I think it's about an hour. Yeah. That resource, 1 hour training around navigating transition planning for youth on places 3 and 4 on that path to community employment I talked about. And Amy Szymanski and Chris Filler do a really good job about talking about what I'm kind of talking about in more intensively, especially toward the IEP process. So if you ever have a chance, that would be a great video to check out and kind of peruse. So I'm going to try to go back to the, let's see if this happens, to the PowerPoint. Let's see if I can do it. I've lost you, sorry.
I think if you just hit stop share and then just do a new share, maybe.
I gotcha. Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I've done it a couple times.
It always confuses me when I go out of the PowerPoint into the digital world, y'all. Sorry. Gonna go back to my place. Yeah. So that's where I was at. I think I'll just keep it on this, and then that makes it a little easier if that's okay with you guys. I wanted to go next to this Ocali website called Why Discovery. And basically all the stuff I'm talking about around trying to figure out what somebody's interested in, trying to figure out where they would flourish, what the conditions of success are for them. It's all rolled out in this document here on the Ocali website around customized employment, which is kind of what Discovery is all about. So basically this website would kind of walk you through a discovery process, job development process, all the aspects of job development, especially for people who may need a little extra support to enter the workforce. They may not be able to fit a job description so perfectly. So this training is really for both families and for practitioners. And it really is a good kind of starting point and a conversation piece around all the stuff I'm talking about, because back in the day, before Employment First kind of became one of the ways we kind of try to help people, it was a lot about people with developmental disabilities kind of being put into jobs, right? Placed. And that never really was successful for a lot of people, because I don't know about you, but if I were placed somewhere without a lot of thinking around what I want to do and what I'm passionate about and what I'm good at, if I didn't have all that stuff going on at the same time as I'm being kind of entering the workforce, I don't think I'd want to maintain the employment. So basically what Employment First kind of tries to do is kind of slow that process down, so we can kind of make sure when we enter into that job development process and we start talking about interviewing, we start talking about finding a job, that we've done a lot of homework and a lot of communicating to each other, so we know what that is. And that's what kind of discovery does. It, you can see here, what skills and interests can you discover by seeing them perform every day, activities at home and in the community with friends and neighbors. What are the ideal conditions for employment? That's what I keep saying. What are the important support considerations? What environment fits best and who else can help? What other activities will help the team develop vocational themes? All this comes from this idea of discovery. And you want to really kind of hone in on that as a family member or as anybody that's involved with helping somebody enter the workforce, because if you don't have that knowledge and if you don't support them in that direction, you're going to have a lot of frustration from the person, because they're going to be kind of in an alien world without any kind of context, and they may not understand even that they have a choice of where they want to work, and they want to also connect work with what they like. I know that's kind of sounds weird, but that's basically what a lot of times we didn't do back in the past in employment services, is try to figure that out. We kind of rushed to the job. I call it that we jumped to the job, and it often kind of made situations that weren't going to last. On this website, I know there's only one person from Warren County, but it's a really cool, and I'm going to go there. Oh my God, here we go. It's a really cool resource that the Warren County ESC and Warren County DD and the folks at OOD all came together, and they basically built a website that walks you through every aspect of transition. And it has a timeline and transition steps. And it kind of also has a bunch of resources for families and students, educators and agencies. And it's specific sometimes to Warren County, but also a lot of the links and a lot of the information is pretty general and pretty much about anybody who is in Ohio. So I would definitely, if you get a chance, check this website out. And again, it's on my on the PDF version that Patty will send you. Linking to these resources is really cool. You can just walk through and you can see all the things I'm talking about in logo form, right? If you go to, if Butler County would replace, obviously Warren County Board of DD, but Hamilton County Board of DD, we can, just don't even, if you're not in Warren County, you don't have to go there. But all these other links and resources where we just were there is the Employment First. I'm going to take you to the Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities website here in a sec. I mean, it's just all kinds of resources that can help you kind of learn more about transition. And it's all kind of connected to what the age is of the person that's transitioning into adulthood. So it's a pretty cool setup that Warren County ESC and Warren County DD and OOD kind of came together and did. And I think it's a really good example of working together to figure that out. I'm going to move down here. I think it's better if I keep it like here because I don't get lost. Yeah. This is, again, this idea of discovery, right? That's the word of the night. And this is from the LEAD Center. The LEAD Center is through the U.S. Department of Labor. And this is a great document, and I'm going to take us there now, that kind of helps with that discovery process I keep talking about, right? This is a how-to basically of discovery guided by the person as opposed to an agency. And this kind of walks you through the whole process that I'm talking about. There's links here to some really famous practitioners. Griffin Hammis Associates kind of came up with this whole concept of discovery and customized employment. And there's links there to their website. But again, this is another resource you can kind of look at and kind of pull from around this idea of kind of building this portfolio that's not a resume as much as a life document that will kind of bring us to new ways of looking at how to help somebody get a job. And that's basically what Discovery kind of does. It helps you kind of figure out from the beginning, what is the ambition, what is the person's passion, and how do we attach that to vocational possibilities? And again, that's not really been the modus operandi of a lot of job development for people with developmental disabilities, especially. And so this concept really is a life changer because it kind of helps teams of people who support kids transitioning and adults that are moving into the workforce to kind of slow it down a little bit, and let's kind of get some of this information around what you're interested in, and also build a portfolio of your skills, right? And that's where family comes in, because you guys as family members know a lot of the people that you love, that their capabilities, their skills, what they're good at, what they're not so good at, what places they don't want to be in, all that kind of stuff. And that all needs to be in a formal written format, so we can take that to wherever we go, and we'll say, here, this is we're large and in charge. This is what we are trying to build for our student, is this path to employment that is about his or her passion, his or her ability to do different kinds of skills and work, and then how can we make that match up?
Keith, when you're clicking on, like, you have self-guided career, is that because we can't see your browser if it's taking you to that site?
So
Yeah,
okay,
I
thank
just
you again.
realized, yeah, I just realized it was actually looked like it was clicking, and it's like, so we're putting the link over in the chat box as you're going, but I don't know if you if you need to share your browser too.
Yeah, I'll have to do that, right? Okay, thank you.
You're right. Yeah, it'll be a I guess it's new window or new share, I think is how it's identified.
Okay. So I stop my share, then I'll go back to that, and I'll go to the lead where I was. I'm getting it, y'all, sorry. This is what I was pointing to so feverishly, is this document that's on the lead center that, can you guys see that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Thank you for stopping me, Patty. I appreciate it. And I was just walking you through some of the information on this lead center document called Self-Guided Discovery. And down here were a bunch of really cool links to some really smart people who came up with this whole concept. And you can investigate that further, especially the Griffin Hammis piece. So I'm going to have to stop my share again and go back to my PowerPoint that way. I get it now.
Yeah, I don't know when you do, like when you click on share screen, I think there's a thing called new share, and I think you can do a new share without, but
Yeah, some of these I won't go to a link. So like this next one, I'm not going to link it.
okay.
So yeah, this one is called Career Discovery Guide, and it's on the website, the Employment First website that I showed you. And it's basically a career discovery guide that I'm talking about. And it's also a fillable PDF you can use if you don't like the lead center or any of the other docs I'm showing you, this charting the life course stuff. And again, this process of what am I interested in, not just in jobs, but in life itself. What are my themes of interest? And then how do I attach those to vocational possibilities? This career discovery guide walks you through that process and kind of helps you kind of come to a place where the job search is sane and kind of built for longevity, as opposed to just, I'm going to help you get a job at Kroger's because that's where everybody gets a job. Which, hey, I'm not knocking Kroger. So yeah, if you want a job at Kroger, more power to you. So, but if you don't want a job at Kroger, there's other possibilities. That's what I'm saying. So this is Ohio Means Jobs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this one, but it's a really cool website for job seekers, employers, and students. And when you go there, you can click on for students, and there's a thing called a backpack. And you can set up an account for each student, and you can kind of just use this backpack structure to go through, and you can do all kinds of investigation on what jobs look like. There's videos, you can look at career profiles, you can do all kinds of stuff. and you start building this discovery document and this resume at the same time, you can access it through Ohio Means Jobs and building that backpack. I think a lot of schools, at least the schools that I've talked to, they kind of access this a lot of times as a part of their vocational kind of training in schools, and also some providers that are in adult services access this to kind of build that resume and build that knowledge for folks. This is Ohio DB 101, and it's a website that helps folks figure out if they have benefits like SSI, SSDI, if they have Medicaid. You can calculate and figure out work incentives and do all kinds of work around, would I make more money if I worked, right? Which you will, because there's all kinds of formulas, but this kind of walks you through that benefits and work estimator, and you can actually go in and make each session around, what kind of job. If I want a job at $10 an hour at 20 hours a week, here's how much I'm making through SSI, and then press that into the system, and it'll print out a report for you that shows you how much money you'd actually make if you didn't work and stayed just on SSI, and if you did work, what would that look like? Also, DB 101 has a wide variety of kind of videos, resources around work incentives, because there's a lot of work incentives involved in SSI and SSDI that folks may not know about. And there are also a lot of resources for students who are on SSI that you can look through here on Ohio DB 101. And I'm willing to talk more about Ohio DB 1 if you want to just ask a question in the chat or whatever. We can even go there if you want. But I'm going through a bunch of resources, and I want to make sure I give some time at the end for a little chat if we need to. So this is on the Ohio Employment First website. And this is really a good place to start if you're thinking about employment, if your son or daughter or brother, sister, whoever is thinking about employment. There are modules and and videos here on this Community Life Seekers and Community Life and Job Seekers guides. And it walks you through all the stuff I'm talking about tonight, only in really kind of simple, clear language that anybody can understand. And it kind of modules that can kind of walk you through the path to community employment, the discovery process, OOD, all the stuff that's involved in the system to help somebody move into the workforce. And then there's also this great kind of companion that's got, I think, about 10 modules to help folks learn how to stay safe and healthy while they work, live, and explore their community. And it's really, I took this into a Project Life class last year and walked through some of this with some of the students there, and it was really, really beneficial because it talks about safety on the internet. It talks about, pedestrian safety. There's all kinds of modules around relationships and all that kind of stuff that kind of goes side by side with getting a job. So great resource for all kinds of different kinds of learning for both job seeking and living in the community. This is the one I want to go to. I'm going to try again. The OOD Works website. I'm going to stop my share. I'm going to didn't do it that time. Ta-da, it happened. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this website or not. If you are, bear with me. But it's basically a real streamlined, easy access process website for opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities, the state agency that supports people to access employment, people with disabilities. And basically this 1, 2, 3 process is really, really effective, I think, because you can kind of step one, explore what OOD is, then you can take an assessment online, and then you can create a profile and apply for OOD here, and it's all kind of pretty simple. You can look at videos, just any kind of question you have, you can kind of look into, do it through here. And it's really a lot easier than going to the actual OOD website that's for other kind of audiences, because it just kind of, this one cuts to the chase. So I definitely think that this is kind of worth kind of taking a gander at when you get a chance. And I'm back to the PowerPoint. I'm learning. This is on the DODD website. I'm not going to go there because it's a lot of stuff to look at, but this is just where all the Ohio employment services and related stuff around COVID and employment is located on the DODD website. And this basically is another kind of doorway into all kinds of resources, some that I mentioned, but other newer ones around COVID and employment that would be worth your while to take a peek at. Basically, it's everything you'd want to know about employment in one place on the DODD website. And I'm done with the whole resource thing. So I want to make sure I did leave some time for questions, or we want to just kind of open it up to conversation. I'd be happy to answer any questions or talk through any kind of situations. Or
There was one question out there, but I believe someone, Angela had jumped in and answered it, but there was, what was the resource that talked about safety as well as employment?
This
was
one.
that, there you go.
It's great. It's a great, I'm going to go there real quick. I'm just because I have a little time. What the heck? And I'm learning on this Zoom stuff. Sorry, y'all. Here it is. It's the Community Life Guide, and it's basically two-pronged, right? You can go to the Speak Up, Stay Safe, and it walks you through these modules around staying safe and healthy relationships, romance, dating and sexuality, bullying and harassment, human trafficking, drugs and alcohol, weapons, online and cell phone safety, pedestrian safety. There are little videos that correspond. There are check-ins and checklists and other resources are under each of the modules. And it really is interesting to kind of walk through that with your son or daughter, and kind of really gives you this sense of, you know, when you say community, it's a little bit more complicated than just community, right? You got to think about a lot of stuff and kind of move into it safely. So there's that one. And then the Job Seekers Guide is got 8 modules, and it walks you through everything I talked about with employment first. And again, what kind of job could I get? That discovery idea. The link here would take you about who can help, walks you through all the different resources that I mentioned, all kinds of different exercises and videos for employment related information. So I really suggest going there if you want to.
And then I'm going to go ahead and stop recording so we can open it up. Is that all right with you, Keith? So we can open it up for.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here
okay.
in my house for you.
Okay, let me go ahead and stop that 1 second. Stop it up here. There we go. Okay.